You're listening to the Cartoonist Podcast. Here are your hosts, Ricky Smith and Jacob Hood.
How's it going, guys? This is Jacob Hood.
And I'm Ricky Smith, and we are
The Cartoonists.
In this episode, we're going to talk about the new Rugrats series and movie.
We're also going to have a conversation about nostalgia and whether or not it's a good thing.
All that and more on this episode of The Cartoonists. So, Jacob, Rugrats.
Rugrats, it's a good show.
Yeah, at least it was a good show until I heard there's a new series coming out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually just heard about this.
Yeah. Breaking news yesterday, announced by a variety of different sites, including Variety.com. Basically, I heard that Nickelodeon and Paramount Pictures are releasing a new Rugrats series. Looks like 26 new episodes have already been ordered by Nickelodeon, and a new company within the Paramount brand called Paramount Players. We're basically like they're starting a new series and also looks like a CGI live action hybrid movie, which I'm kind of concerned about for a movie like Rugrats.
They're really going hardcore with this. This reboot is not just a series; it's also they're confident enough that they're going to make a live action hybrid CGI movie.
And like, okay, I'm a huge fan of Rugrats. Like when I was a kid growing up, I had Rugrats everything. Like I have so many Rugrats VHS tapes. Like even today, I kept over these years, and like. Well, my room was filled with Rugrats stuff when I was a kid, like the Rugrats movie. I remember seeing that in theaters, Rugrats in Paris, like all that stuff. So I'm a huge Rugrats fan. See, okay, when this was announced, my mom told me this, and she thought I was gonna be hyped about this. I mean, not saying that I'm not hyped to see one of my favorite shows as a kid coming back, but like, I'm just kind of concerned, like, you know, all these shows are being like brought back, and I'm always wondering, like, is this for the best? Like, because some shows maybe just be best to like just leave the way they were, because like, even the Rugrats, like, Final Days, when they brought, like, Dill and Kimmy to the series, like, they were already in their last legs, you know? Like,
right.
I just think, like, after Rugrats in Paris, it really shouldn't have ended. I mean, like, I'm just not really sure what they're going to do. I mean, they still introduced some new characters, and there's just so many, like, concerns I have for this new series. I mean, I wish the best, and I hope it's, like, good, but I just have some concerns, man, you know what I mean? Like, what do you think?
No, I totally hear you, and... I was a pretty big fan of Rugrats. I probably wouldn't say as much as you were, but you know, I had the VHS collection.
Yeah.
I had the toys. I remember my friends and I, when we were little kids, we would play Rugrats. And so I would say that I do have an emotional connection to the series. It's probably not as strong as some people, but it really is concerning because we've talked about this on the show before, but it seems that there is a trend in animation, especially television animation, of trying to revive older nostalgic shows.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like old shows,
right.
More like what we had when we were younger kids.
And see, like, sometimes that works, like, certain series that never die, like, Scooby-Doo.
Right.
That came out in, like, the 1960s, but they have new shows, like, every year almost, it seems like, in multiple movies. But the thing about Scooby-Doo, I feel like it's a nice formula where, like, that can be used up until, like, the 2080s, and it'll still be, like... Not fresh necessarily, but like it'll still be a show that you can easily relate to. But like, I just know about Rugrats. I mean,
with Scooby-Doo, that's interesting because it's both a very timeless show, but it also definitely has a timestamp of the 1960s or early 70s. I would say is when it got really popular. But
see, like with What's New Scooby-Doo, they try to be like all edgy and early 2000s-y and stuff, and I feel like. Even the theme song and everything, and they changed their outfits a bit in the series, I felt like they were able to like adapt it to like our modern audience. So I don't feel like the whole like early 70s stamp was like lasting on all the series and stuff. I mean, maybe like some of the elements of it, but like they were able to. I think they were able to update it like with each iteration of it and all like iteration of it.
Well, again, this is something that we've brought up before, but it's sort of like you look at classic characters like Mickey Mouse or Bugs Bunny. And they always have that sort of 1920s, 30s stamp on them.
Right.
But at the same time, there's something about those characters that is adaptable to many different cultures, many different iterations. And so I feel like with Rugrats, I'm curious if it's going to hold up like, say, Scooby-Doo would, where, yes, it definitely has like a late 90s, early 2000s stamp on it, but is that something that will translate to modern audiences? That's what I'm curious to see.
Right. I mean... I don't know. I feel like Rugrats, like as a show itself, it doesn't really necessarily have a timestamp to it. I mean, aside from like
That's
maybe
true.
a few of the references they make with like you know, products they have or things like that. The show itself is just mainly about like kids going on adventures, so I could see that being translated to different generations and all. Like just add some
Right.
cell phones and Netflix, and there you got it.
But you don't want to add that just for the sake of.
Well, I know,
doing
but
it,
I'm just
you
saying,
know?
like, if you just see, like, I mean, actually, I remember I made a character as, like, a little fan fiction thing I was doing one time where, like, basically, like, the parents, instead of, like, getting distracted the way they usually were, they got distracted by, like, their phones or something. Because, like, that's an easy, like, little thing you put in there for, like, a new way they can get distracted from when I'm watching the kids. So, if they did something like that, it'd be kind of funny, like, kind of making fun of, like, what's going on nowadays and all. But, like, I don't know. I mean, I want to give it a good chance and all. Like, I'm just kind of concerned about the movie. Like,
Yeah, that's.
I'm just trying to picture this in my head because, like, you know, like with Disney now, like they've done like a lot of these live action remakes of classic animated shows, and when they say like this new Rugrats movie, I'm cool with being CGI, but when it's live action and CGI,
that's gonna be like that. I feel like that would be tricky to pull off.
yeah,
And-
because like, sorry, go ahead.
no, it's fine. We I don't think that we know enough about it to make a solid judgment yet.
Yeah,
but
there's like literally no information about the actual movie yet, but
Ricky, one thing we were talking about earlier is the that Fairly Odd Parents. It was
Yeah.
the live action with Drake Bell, right?
yeah, Drake Bell.
He I feel like that was, oh man, I don't know. I remember watching it when it first came out and just thinking that something about it didn't quite mesh well. I think I never really felt like I was looking at Timmy Turner.
Well, the
I
weird
felt
thing about
like-
it is too. I mean, I know like he's supposed to be older than Timmy, obviously for obvious reasons and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I don't feel like Fairly Odd Parents really a series that should have been made into live action.
yeah,
And, like,
visually it just didn't.
something
mesh
should
well.
just stay in the 2D cartoon world rather than like trying to go outside of that. I mean, some shows that could work for. I can't think of the examples right at the top of my head, but like, I mean, Scooby Doo worked as a live action movie. I mean, everyone
it's
has their own opinions
debatable.
on it. Everyone has their own opinions on it. But I liked the movie. I mean, you know, your childhood and stuff. But anyway, like the Rugrats movie.
I wouldn't have minded the Scooby Doo movie if there wasn't that scene where Scrappy Doo peed on Daphne.
Wow,
that messed
okay.
me up. That was so gross and weird. Like, why would you have a cartoon character do that?
Yeah.
Side note, sorry, but
Yeah. Anyway, stop interrupting me. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Anyway, I was just saying, like, yeah, with this new Rugrats movie, I'm trying to picture in my head, like, how are they going to use, like, CGI and live action. So the only thing I'm guessing right now, off the top of my head, would be, like, maybe the babies, since they can talk, like, they would do, like, a baby genius type thing, where, like, they use real babies and just, like, CGI over their faces to, like, make them talk,
my.
which would be really scary, and I don't want them to do that. Or two, which is even scarier, is make, like, hyper-realistic versions of the cartoon characters. Like, you see Chucky running around with, like, troll hair and stuff, like, with the
Yeah.
big old glasses and all, like, just running around and all, and, like, the parents are real-life actors. And I can see something like that happening. So it's one of the two, I feel like, is
Well-
most likely what they mean by CGI live action. I mean, what do you think?
I really don't know. I'm trying to envision it too. And Class B Chupo, if I'm pronouncing that right.
There you are, yeah.
They had such a striking visual style.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that the characters, their characters are very flat, and again, they're very distinct looking. And
Yeah,
I
they're
think
ugly
that
but attractive.
If you try to apply that sort of flat, very distinct style to a 3D medium, I'm a little bit concerned that it might come out in the uncanny valley where. And I'm sure that you guys can think of examples of this too, but there's certain cartoon characters where they just don't exactly apply themselves to 3 dimensions, and so that's kind of what I'm worried about with.
Or when you're saying that, they may just completely redesign the characters for the CGI models, and like that can also like break away from like the traditional look for the show. And
That's true.
I mean, aside from like maybe the T-shirt that they would wear, or Chucky's iconic hair, of course. I mean, I feel like it wouldn't be the exact on-model character if they were going to do like a CGI thing like this, because like you said, I definitely agree. Like I cannot see. I mean, they have some video games in the early 2000s of like them as CGI characters,
Right.
and like it did kind of work. I mean, it again, it was early 2000s, late 90s video games, so
Yeah.
the best CGI can look back then. But I don't know, man. I mean, I'll give it a chance, but I'm just kind of hesitant right now about like this whole idea of like Nickelodeon bringing back all these old series, because I've also heard too, like they have the Hair On movie, which was
I was
awesome.
just
last year.
thinking about that. Yeah.
I mean, it was awesome. They changed the character design a bit, and I mean, it was alright, but the movie itself was pretty good. I mean, like I was a huge Hair On fan as well, and I think like it was a good way to end the series officially, because like the movie doesn't come out back in like 2004.
Yeah.
And it was never funded. But like, yeah. having that, and then I've also heard too, like in the works, like I think later on this year or maybe next year, I believe it was this year. Rocket's Modern Life is supposed to have like a little like mini movie on Nickelodeon this year, and I think Invader Zim's coming out too with a new short, and it's Stimpy. So like Nickelodeon, they're bringing back a lot of old shows, and like I think it's a great transition to our next topic. See, like I'm a huge Nickelodeon fan, as I said before, and Nickelodeon's prime was in the 90s and early 2000s, and since then, I would just say that programs haven't been like as great as those days, I guess. And I feel like they're kind of Uncle Ricoing this by like kind of going back to the past and finding their glory days and just trying to like rehash those old ideas. Where, I mean, I feel like I'm such a big fan of Nickelodeon that I'd rather see them make new ideas and try to make those better rather than like just going back to the past and making old ideas again. Like, I mean, what do you think, Jacob? Like, do you think like it's okay for them to just keep like Double Dare came back and all? Like, it's being overdone, I think. Like,
nostalgia is a tricky thing because it can either be something that gives you inspiration, or it can be something that keeps you in the past.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it.
I think that
like look at Stranger Things, like.
I'm sorry?
Look at Stranger Things, for example.
Oh, like, yeah, exactly. Stranger Things is a great example of... it's a fantastic show. And I know that I'm totally on the hype train with Stranger Things, so sorry if you guys are kind of getting tired of that. But no, I love the show. I think that it's a really good example of they're creating something new. They're creating a story and characters within that story they're brand new, but at the same time, their inspiration is very deeply rooted in pre-existing things from that era. Mm-hmm. And so I think that that's an example of how nostalgia can be done right. You take a certain feeling and you create something new with that. You don't hold yourself back in the past with it.
Right.
And, one thing I've noticed Cartoon Network is doing this a little bit too with the new Powerpuff Girls and Teen Titans Go.
That's right.
It's a little bit concerning that and maybe not. This is subjective, but it seems like they're more in love with the idea of the show rather than actually creating something new with it. The new Powerpuff Girls reboot, I don't think it definitely didn't capture the spirit of the original show.
Is it still on?
I don't know.
I'm
really not sure. I think fundamentally there are a lot of things that they missed with what made the original show so special. I think the idea that Cartoon Network had was, everyone loves Powerpuff Girls, let's bring that back.
Right.
Without understanding like why they should bring that back, what people liked about it. Teen Titans Go, I know it's kind of an easy target, but
yeah.
I remember specifically when that came out, 2011? 12?
Well, okay, I'll say this. I'm not defending the show at all, but at least they made something new and original about it. I mean, like, even those characters we've already seen before, it's a whole different type of show. Like,
I guess
it's
that's
nothing
true,
like the original one. I mean, it may not be the best, but it's not for our age. So,
but the difference between something like Stranger Things and Teen Titans Go, which that's probably the first time anyone's ever compared those two things, but
I don't think that's a really good comparison because, I mean, like, Stranger Things is a completely new entity, but Teen Titans Go is a new version of a thing that's already existed.
What I'm saying, though, is that Stranger Things does a great job of creating something new while also staying true to the spirit of it. Whereas I think Teen Titans Go is, it does not stay true to the original spirit, but it just kind of banks off of, it's the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not really, I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. But I would say, Ricky, I'm sure you'd agree with this. We're definitely very nostalgic people.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I think, though, in recent years, South Park actually did an entire series recently.
Oh, yeah, Member Berries.
Or not series, but season.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Member Berries. How I think we as a culture right now are probably in the most nostalgic time period that I can remember.
Oh, ever.
Yeah. How it seems like everyone wants to go back to something that, and honestly, like, does this thing that we want to go back to really exist?
Oh, I mean, like, it's like revisionist history, like thinking like everything in the past was so great. I mean, like, anything I do with like some of my work and all, like, as you're saying, like, try to be inspired by the past. Like, I know the past wasn't perfect, even though like a lot of things we liked back then we thought were perfect and all. Like, so try to find ways that we can make like those things better, you know?
Right.
Like, I mean, that can be with so many different things, like even with like architecture and design, like, you know, finding like, you know, classic styles that you like back then, but finding new modern ways, like different like technologies and new like materials that you have, and that can be used with so many different things. You know what I mean? Like, just like finding a way to combine both the past and the future, and like making like something that's new, and yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like, I don't know, being nostalgic could be kind of dangerous, but
nostalgia can be. I think it can be extremely dangerous, and also it can be, like I've been saying, I think it can be a positive thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was just gonna go back to like how when I was in like say junior high school, and I remember I was nostalgic over being in elementary school.
Really?
And in high school, yeah, and in high school, I'd be nostalgic. I guess I shouldn't say nostalgic about junior high, but what I'm getting to is that I feel like back then, for some reason, I feel like I was more nostalgic during the times that other people are nostalgic in. Whereas nowadays, I look back and I think, oh, I'd never want to go back to back to those days.
You thought it was easier back then, and like kind of had better memories from back then, rather than like the state you were in then. Yeah.
But no, I think that the way I try to look at nostalgia is, I try not to let it hold me back. I try never to let it make me think, oh, I wish I could be in that time again. I try not to let it do that to me. I try to make it something that only propels me forward. And I'm saying this over and over again, but I think really that's the big takeaway for me with the topic is that if it's holding you back, as you said, if it's Uncle Ricoing you,
I mean,
that's where I think the danger comes in. Where if it's not if you're not growing with it,
right, exactly. And I just feel like Nickelodeon is one of those kind of studios that are doing that. Like, I don't think they've had a really good idea in like a while. I mean, like I know Loud House is like their big selling point right now, but even then, that's just one show.
I need to watch Loud House a little bit more.
I haven't really seen it that many episodes. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it. I know they're making a movie coming with that soon. 2020 is going to be a huge year for Nickelodeon. They're making a new SpongeBob movie, a new Rugrats movie, as we just said, and Loud House all in the same year. But yeah, like Loud House seems like their only like successful property right now. Successful, on quotes, property. Like, I just can't believe Nickelodeon passed up on, like, I heard Phineas and Ferb and Adventure Time.
That's insane.
How crazy is that? Like, they could have replaced SpongeBob years ago. Like, SpongeBob could have been over back in 2009, and they could have had all those new series. Like, Phineas and Ferb, I mean, it's not that popular, but it was a great show. Like, it was so well written and stuff. Like,
okay, so I have a question for you, actually. So, when it comes to different childhood-related brands, like Disney, I think is a good example of, Disney means, like, I think a lot of things to a lot of different people, but if I were to summarize it very simply, I would say their brand is sort of like magic and storytelling and imagination and all those things. I think Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, they definitely do have specific brands, like things that make their culture different.
Well, Nickelodeon, like, they're saying back in the 90s was, like, the only network for kids, or, like, how we're kids first, and so everything was just, like, kid-oriented. Like, they had, like, it was just kids, basically, like, because their big claim to fame was, like, they were the first ever channel to be all just kids, because every other channel had, like, the Kid Block or something like that. It was never, like, a whole channel dedicated to just kids, because it came from the era where, like, it was, like, niche things like Food Network or, like, Cartoon Network was, like, just all about cartoons, because there's no other channel that showed only cartoons, like, 24 hours a day. So, like, that's their, like, I mean, now it's kind of, I know, like, the whole, like, 2000s, late 2000s, like...
yeah, I'm very glad they got away from that.
Yeah, but, aside from that, Cartoon Network's claim to fame would be, like, the cartoons.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just being sort of an animation channel in general. With Nickelodeon, I'm wondering, what is it that makes them special, that they, like, what is it that is their core? Like, what can they go back to kind of reevaluate, okay, this is who we are, this is what we want to be in the future. And, I don't know.
I guess, like I was saying before, like, about kids, I mean, I don't know, I feel like they're that dad that says, like, oh, I think kids like this. Like, I've seen so many, like, compilations on YouTube of, like, cringe moments from Nickelodeon where, like, they find memes and make, like, videos about it, like, months or years later after this famous, Whippin' Nene song, the Shooting Stars thing, dabbing, what does the fox say? All these are real examples I've seen before, and they use, like, their characters and, like, oh, dude, it's bad. And,
that really is sad.
Like, it's just, like, it seems like someone's dad or uncle that's like, oh, kids like this kind of stuff, let's, have it on the channel. And, like, kids don't like this kind of stuff. And, like, even their social media page is, like, so cringy. And, like, I just feel like Nickelodeon could do so much better. Like, even back in the 90s, like, I feel like, I don't know, they had stuff in, like, an ironic way almost. Like, they were to, like, they're like that weird channel where they had, like, just gross stuff. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't trying to, like, be normal like other channels were and anything. Like, now I feel like they're trying to be more like, like, oh, we're trendy, we know you, we understand you guys. Like, I mean, like, I feel like back then they were kind of more like, there's anything that's fun or weird or different. And now I don't feel like they're really trying to be weird or fun or different. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that was their overall core. So I feel like if they did go back to that kind of stuff, would be like, just finding things that are different, like from the other kids' channel, and like just making stuff original. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head like what they could do, but I don't know. I mean, hopefully this Rugrats show can be put back on the right track of like coming up with like shows that are like that, and I just hope it's more original content that's not just the same stuff we've seen before, because that takes you nowhere if you're just like going back.
Right. I do hope the same thing about it's. I hope it's not Rugrats for the sake of Rugrats. And I also really hope that it's not terrifying to look at.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I was thinking of is they did try to reboot Rugrats before the show All Grown Up.
Oh yeah, I think you're gonna talk about preschool days.
Oh, that, yeah. I guess two examples of that.
Yeah, but All Grown Up. Yeah, I don't remember the show that well. I mean, I remember I watched the little like short they had, like not short, but a special they had when they first came out, like 2001, when like they went to the time machine and went to the future and all. Future,
Yeah.
as they called it. I don't know.
I don't remember that too
I liked All Grown Up a little bit. No, I think the episode's called All Growed Up because I said it wrong because they're babies.
Growed Up.
The show was
That's
called All
funny.
Grown Up. Anyway, no, it was alright. It was an alright series. I mean, it was my favorite. I liked Rugrats more than All Grown Up, but like, yeah, I don't know.
I would need to watch it again to get a better opinion, but from what I remember, again, it's completely missing the point of the original show. It's that the original show it's cute little babies and their adventures are normal things that get completely blown out of proportion in their heads.
It's kind of reverse, like Tom and Jerry kids and things like that, like showing them as adults.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, well, not adults, but
But with All Grown Up, it's like, okay, that's the idea of Rugrats. That you can't translate that to when they're older.
one crazy idea I just thought of. What if, like, I know they're not doing this for the series, but what if, like, would you like this if the series was, like, actually the future? Like, if they actually aged the way they should be, like, right now they're, like, in their, like, 20s or whatever, and their parents themselves, and they have kids. Would you like a series like that? And there's, like, a whole new series where, like, the babies are,
Oh, yeah,
like,
I
a
could
whole
see that.
generation of babies instead of, like...
Because it has to be babies. Like, the word Rugrat, it refers to babies.
And, like, they're the parents and stuff, and, like, maybe, like, Stu's, like, the grandpa now and stuff, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just, like, I feel like that would be an even funnier idea, like, showing a whole generation of babies instead of, like, just showing the same characters again, like... I just feel like it's been done already. Like, I mean, again, I'm staying positive, I'm ready to see it, but what do you think, Jacob? Like... Do you have any, like, ideas, or what do you think is going to happen, or...
Yeah, I just don't know. I'm not sure what else they could do with it. I don't know. I would love to believe that you have a group of really talented writers who are looking at it and saying, what can we do to continue the, not legacy, but...
Well,
what can,
you know, it's a famous brand, I guess you could say, because, like, in the 90s, they were everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
One of the things that's kind of concerning me about the series, and I'm wondering what they're going to do, is, like, many of the voice actors that play the original characters have passed away, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
I heard Stu passed away a few years ago. I know that the original voice actors that played Chucky, because Chucky was replaced, I think, by Nancy Cartwright, the lady who plays, Bart.
Bart, yeah. I knew that.
Yeah. And so his voice sounded different later on. Same with Chucky and Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory. He got replaced as well because the same voice actress, she retired midway through the series, and she ended up passing away a few years ago. And so did Grandpa. So it's going to be interesting, like seeing what they're going to do with that, like how some of the voices are going to sound, and also like that's one thing where I was kind of thinking, like, if it was like them in the future, like they can find new voice actors playing like the kids out growing up and stuff, because you don't really need them to sound like they were back then. But I don't know. I mean, I just feel like there's so many things that are having to be addressed for this new series.
Well, I think voice acting, of course, that gives the character their personality and, like, I guess their character.
Right.
But at the same time, I think that if a performance is done well enough, different actors can become the same character, and they don't have to sound exactly the same, as long as the performance is good enough and stays true enough to that character. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not something I'm super worried about.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, that's just another one of those things where, like, think about the new series and stuff, like...
Yeah, I'm just more concerned about whether or not it actually feels like Rugrats, like an actual continuation of Rugrats.
Yeah.
I am just...
like they never left.
Yeah.
I feel like Hey Arnold movie pretty much did that. Like, I feel like the same spirit of, like, the original series, as you always say. Like,
yeah. I can see with this new Rugrats show. I really hope this isn't the case, and I know that you don't want to be pessimistic either, but one thing that I am worried about is, like, let's say they do an episode where it's like, oh, let's focus on the parents this episode, and it has nothing to do with the kids, and I don't know. Maybe they did that.
Well, they did that already. I mean, like, South Park does that sometimes too. Like,
but South Park is about. I feel like it's about the town and the culture, and it's about like the core of that show is it's social commentary about the real world and our culture.
So I guess it's not really a good comparison of that. But like, I mean, there were episodes where like the parents were like there have been more adult subjects sometimes, like, but they were still like, kid friendly and all. But like,
yeah. So maybe that isn't the best example. I'm just worried that they're going to be focusing on something that is not. It just isn't the show, you know. Yeah. That's what I'm afraid of. But with this movie, what I'm really interested in is what is this movie going to be about? I mean, they already had the Grand Adventure movie. They had the Paris movie.
Yeah, that's a good question.
They had another adventure movie. Oh yeah,
Rugrats Go Wild. I totally forgot about that movie. Wow. Yeah. Rugrats Goes to New York. That's the only that's left. It's live action.
They meet the Smurfs.
It's live action CGI. They have to go to New York. That's like the rule for like movies that do that. So they have to go to New York. You can see right now, like, Chucky's scaling up the Eiffel Tower. I mean, not the Eiffel Tower. The Statue of Liberty. And he's like, Tommy trying to get him to come down and stuff. Like,
yeah.
I'm scared, Tommy.
The thing is, like, that's not really that out of the realm of possibility.
Oh yeah.
Maybe the reason why I feel like I'm sort of obsessing about this topic is just because I don't feel like Rugrats it's so constrained to what they can do that it has to be, in order for it to work as a Rugrats episode, it has to be, the kids go on some dumb little adventure that in their minds is this big deal. And I feel like that's sort of limiting. Whereas with SpongeBob, there isn't that constriction. I mean, it's just about a sponge who lives in a pineapple under the sea.
Oh yeah, I mean, it can be random any episode because, like, I mean, Rugrats is very based on the real world, which SpongeBob is like, I mean, it somewhat makes sense with like our world, but at the same time, it's like totally cartoony and all. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, I guess at the same time with Rugrats, if the adventure does kind of exist in their head,
right,
then you could look at that as like there's unlimited possibilities with that.
Yeah.
So.
One last thing. Sort of wrap this up pretty soon, but I'm surprised we haven't addressed this yet. Like, what about character design? Do you think like the character design will be? Because I know we mentioned this earlier about the CGI, but like, what about the actual show? Do you think like they'll use the same classic cheapo design style from the '90s, or do you think they'll start to the just a Cal art style like Thundercats are doing? Do you think like what do you think about the style?
I'd like to believe that they would at least stay a little bit true to the original Class B Chupo style.
Like, tweak it just a bit. I mean, I feel like if they did tweak it a bit, it would be totally understandable. Maybe be weird for them to like.
We were looking at that. It was that new comic that came out.
They had comic last year.
And that is, as we keep saying, the Cal art style. It does kind of look like that, but it also definitely has the classic look too. So I would probably expect it to be somewhere in the middle of those two. I can't imagine it would be as extreme as the new Thundercats style, though.
Yeah, I feel like it'll piss off a lot of people like our generation if they did like completely like that. So I would say a nice blend between the two.
I would say it's probably going to be a more simplistic.
One thing I actually noticed too, like Classic Cheapo themselves don't even really use their same style they used to use. Like, they actually still make some series. Like, it's not really like mainstream anymore, but I like did some research on them recently, and like yeah, they kind of like went away from their traditional like Rocket Power, World Monsters look and stuff. Like
Wacky Adventures of Ronald
McDonald.
Yeah,
they kind of went away from that style they've been using for years and like tried some other things and it looks kind of weird, but like it's just like they're trying something different too. So who knows? Like it could be completely different from what we're used to seeing, or it could be like, I mean, I look what Harold did, like where they pretty much use the same character models, but they modernize them a bit by like giving different clothes or like kind of rounding them out a bit more, just different things like that. So.
Well, going back to the brand of Nickelodeon, I think that what worked well about the original Rugrats, especially in the early days when they did kind of look hideous.
Yeah,
but
it's charming. Like, yeah, it's like
it was like charmingly hideous.
Right. Yeah.
There was a certain look to that I feel like you look at that and you immediately know, oh, that's Nickelodeon.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a certain I guess I would say wacky look to it.
Well, as I said before, like Nickelodeon's whole like brand at the time was like they're the weird, different channel. Like Ren and Stimpy, look at that show compared to like I mean they're I love how like different and diverse the three different shows were. I mean the original three shows on Nickelodeon were Ren and Stimpy, Doug, and Rugrats, and none of the shows look similar at all, and none of the tones were similar. So like I remember someone was mentioning how like Ren and Stimpy is like totally wacky and out of the like just super weird and crazy and stuff, and Doug is like really down to earth. So Rugrats was like middle ground show, where it was like
that
a
makes
mix
sense.
of like having some craziness with like their imagination at the same time, still grounded in the real world. So
I don't want to call it gross out because that's not really accurate, but I think there is something definitely about the style that it appeals to kids.
Yeah,
it's something that I don't know. I hope I don't sound like I'm talking down to kids, but there's just something about the style that even more so than Cartoon Network, which I would say Cartoon Network is a little bit more traditional, like classic Hanna-Barbera.
Oh, the early days.
Yeah, like that's where the influences came from.
Yeah.
Whereas Nickelodeon was a little bit more experimental, and it wasn't afraid to be weird, and I think that's what attracted kids to it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the shows back then probably would not fly nowadays. But same with, you can say the same with Cartoon Network 2, like Johnny Bravo. Like, there's no way that show would be allowed nowadays.
Oh, no way. If it was, he would have to be much more. It would have to be a lot cleaner, and he'd also have to be. He'd probably be a villain, honestly. Like
the funny thing about his character, though, was I know we're gonna totally off topic, but like how he never like actually like scored.
No, never, not once.
So like, I mean, I feel like that show could be funny as an Adult Swim show nowadays. Like if that was a thing still. You know, like,
oh, I could totally see that.
Yeah, I should like. There's like,
if anyone's listening, yeah, that would be awesome to see an Adult
really funny.
Swim Johnny Bravo.
All right, pretty mama. Yeah, it's so funny. All right, guys, thanks for listening. I know we got really random on this episode, and we actually ranted a lot. But overall, I really hope this episode was able to talk about, like, you know, how you can be careful about nostalgia, because, like, it can be, you know, dangerous to look at the past too much, but at the same time, you can use it as inspiration for your future. So use that in your life. This is a daily message from Ricky Smith. So,
yeah. Yes. No, I hope that this conversation did. I know that nostalgia is such a broad topic that it's hard to put it in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, if you guys have any thoughts about just nostalgia in general, we'd love to hear from you. Whether or not you think it's a good thing, a bad thing,
or the Rugrats series. Like, what do you think of that? Like,
yeah,
you know, we're you know, wanting to hear opinions, because like this is a hot topic right now, and a lot of people are you know, having different opinions on this. So hopefully.
And it's easy for us to be hypercritical of stuff, and we obviously want to be optimistic, but I think at this point, because such little information is out, it really is hard to definitively say anything about it. Right. So yeah, we'd love to hear whatever you guys have to say about the new Rugrats, whatever that might be, since there really isn't much information out right now.
Yeah.
And we will see you in the next episode.
Yeah, see ya.